We have tons of news to talk about in today's video as we prepare for the opening of free agency tomorrow. We have some trade rumors around teams like the Ottawa Senators, New York Rangers, the Nashville Predators, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Carolina Hurricanes. We have some fairly big news on free agent stuff, including Steven Stamkos, Patrick Kane, and Jake Guentzel. Two of those three players appear to be staying put. Plus, we have a whole bunch of restricted free agents who are not qualified. We'll go over the most prominent names that were not and will become UFAs tomorrow. And we have some other signings to discuss as well, including Timothy Liljegren in Toronto, Sean Durzi in Utah, and a few others. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a ton of news to talk about today. Tomorrow's the beginning of free agency, and it's been a very busy news cycle coming out one day after the 2024 NHL draft. So let's dive in and get started first with restricted free agents that were not given qualified offers today. The UFA pool just substantially increased with all these restricted free agents not getting their offers for teams to retain their rights. So obviously there's not a lot of significant big names. Nobody's going to walk away and get a big deal somewhere else, but there could be a lot of interesting depth options or some cheaper plays for players to get fresh start somewhere else and be able to capitalize. So let's take a quick rundown. First, you got the Anaheim Ducks did not qualify Max Jones, Vakanainen, Brett Leeson, or Bo Gruhl. So there's some interesting players there. The Habs did not qualify Jesse Yellinen. The Senators did not qualify Boris Kachuk, Parker Kelly, or Eric Brandstrom. The Maple Leafs did not qualify Noah Gregor. The Penguins did not qualify Pierre-Olivier Joseph. The Sabres did not qualify Jacob Bryson or Riley Stillman. The Dallas Stars did not qualify Sam Steele or Niels Lundqvist. The Bruins did not qualify Jesper Vokvist. Jake Bean and Alex Nylander in Columbus were not qualified. Nylander I thought would stay because he had a really solid finish there, but they have a new GM and they're looking to change things up. The Sharks did not qualify defenseman Kalen Addison, Jack Studnicka, or Philip Zadina. Remember, Zadina had a big not big, but much bigger contract in Detroit that he agreed to mutually terminate and walked away from a bunch of money to go bet on himself in San Jose. That backfired pretty hardcore. The Los Angeles Kings did not qualify fourth line center Blake Lizotte, pretty good penalty killer, so we'll see what happens with him. The Kraken did not qualify Kyler Yamamoto. The Blackhawks did not qualify Mackenzie Entwistle, Taylor Radish, Joey Anderson, or Reese Johnson. And newly acquired goalie in Vegas, Akira Schmid, was not qualified. Now, here's the thing. Just because players were not qualified, it does not mean that their time with those teams are 100% finished. It just means that they're now unrestricted free agents. There's some cases where a team just does not want to go to the qualifying offer amount, but they might be willing to re-sign a player if they'll accept less money. So they have to go this route first, become a UFA. They can opt to sign back. We've seen it before. A good example was Jared Anderson-Dolan last year with the Kings. Did not get a qualifying offer, re-signed for less money, which also made the contract more appealing. He eventually ended up on waivers and did get picked up. It can happen. So at the end of the day, we'll see here. I know a few of these cases, like Schmid is still expected to likely sign with Vegas. Pierre-Olivier Joseph is still talking to the Penguins. It's possible he signs there for less money as well. And there could be a few others. And the other big thing, too, with these players not being qualified, there's still 4 members that we know of the 2018 World Junior Canadian team that are facing sexual assault charges, and they're all pending restricted free agents. None of them were qualified as well. Obviously, those teams don't want anything to do with those players right now. I know they're technically innocent until proven guilty, and should they be found innocent, they'll be UFAs and will be able to attempt to start their careers on a fresh start somewhere else. But Carter Hart with the Philadelphia Flyers, Dylan Dubé with the Calgary Flames, and Michael McLeod and Cal Foote of the New Jersey Devils, none of them were given qualifying offers, so they're now all considered UFAs. I did see, I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not, but I think Dylan Dubé was trying to play over in the KHL, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see. I don't know if there was, I don't think there was any stipulations that they had to surrender their passports. I think they did have to sign waivers that if they obtained work outside of Canada that they had to be back, or there was going to be like obviously more charges or something. I can't remember or how that was worked out. But I do believe if they're able to work outside of the country that they can. So until the trial at least. So we'll see where that goes. But that's your list of restricted free agents that were not qualified, or at least the more prominent names out there that will be able to sign anywhere tomorrow. As I said, we did get some more confirmed signings here today. We'll talk about the rumored ones coming up here next, but we got the Maple Leafs signing Timothy Liljegren to a 2-year contract at $3 million per year. I'm a little surprised by that. It's not a terrible signing by any means, but there was word, and it doesn't mean that he still can't be traded because it's still rumored that he could be. His name was out there a lot. They opted to get this done. Obviously, some players can be more valuable with a contract than without, especially RFAs if they have arbitration rights or whatnot. The longer that lingers on, the less likely another team might pick them up until that's all settled. So we'll see. It doesn't mean 100% Liljegren will be back with the Leafs, but it is possible, depending on what else they find in free agency or other opportunities they see as a potential upgrade. They might be able to move the contract and go about things differently. I mean, obviously, as much as he'd have to take a big step, in my opinion, to make sense for them to retain him. Like, for example, we got to the playoffs last year and he was not really in the lineup. So, he did, I think, play a little bit, but like at the same time, like, it's just, I'm not sure he has a future there. So we'll see. Obviously, that's an important one. They also signed Max Domi. I do have another video on the channel talking about the Domi signing earlier today. The Seattle Kraken signed John Hayden to a 1-year, one-way deal, $775, so league minimum. They also signed Max McCormick to a 2-year extension. It's a 2-way contract. He's likely going to have to continue playing in the AHL and then be a call-up option most likely. The Anaheim Ducks today signed Isaac Lundestrom to a 1-year deal as well, $1.5 million. The Utah Hockey Club continues to do some good business here, signing Sean Durzi. Of course, they acquired Sergachev and Marino, and they signed Valimaki yesterday, and now they get the fourth piece of their top 4D locked up. Durzi's been real good for them. Was good in LA before that as well. 4-year deal at $6 million per season. He gets a modified no trade clause in the final 2 years of the deal, which is when he's eligible, and that modified no trade is a 10-team list of teams he can block. So Durzi gets $6 million for 4 years over with the Utah team. So that, to me, that's a real good signing. So Durzi, Liljegren, the more significant ones. The Canucks also signed Jet Wu. He gets a 1-year, 2-way deal as well to remain in the organization. That'll be a depth option for them at their Abbotsford team. We'll see if he can work his way to being a call-up option, but hard to imagine that right now, but unless he takes some big steps forward next year. We also did have a prospect trade that happened earlier today as well. The Tampa Bay Lightning had traded Beckett MacArthur, who was a 2020 4th-round pick to the Pittsburgh Penguins. In return, they sent Lucas Fekowski, who was also a 2020 4th-round pick, back the other way. So 2 teams swapping prospects for a fresh start. So we'll see what happens with those guys. Hard to imagine at this point them getting a lot of opportunity, if any, to make it to the NHL, but at least they can get a new start with a new organization and see where things go. On the UFA rumor mill, these are pretty well confirmed, but we don't have the full details, so technically it's still a rumor until it's announced, but the sources on it are good enough that we believe it's happening, that Jake Guentzel is indeed staying with the Tampa Bay Lightning after they acquired his signing rights earlier. So they had until tonight at midnight and before the clock strikes July 1 to get an 8-year deal done. I believe it's going to be an 8-year deal. I know that's what he was looking for in Carolina. We don't know the exact AAV or the total breakdown of the structure and all that kind of stuff, but there is word that came out shortly before I started to record here that Guentzel is staying with the Lightning after they made that trade. So obviously that, again, like I said, they cleared a bunch of money with Sergachev and with Tanner Jeannot. Now Frank Cervalli posted right before, like, he was the first one I seen post as that Guentzel was in an agreement to stay in Tampa. But he said there was also potentially some other moving parts. So I do wonder if they're moving anybody else to clear even more money. We know that Steven Stamkos is set to hit the market tomorrow. As of right now, there's no reason to think that he's going to miraculously sign with the Lightning before the clock strikes UFA time tomorrow. I don't know about that. I mean, it seems like they're pretty hard, steady, fast on their belief in what they're willing to offer. Like I said before, I just find it mind-boggling here. Like, Jake Guentzel's a really good player. I wouldn't be shocked if he scored 40 goals for the Lightning next year. He's done it in Pittsburgh, played very well in Carolina. Heck of a hockey player. But so is Steven Stamkos, and he's been there since day one. First overall pick, team captain for like a decade, 2 Stanley Cups. Why are you turning your back on Stamkos? Yes, he's a little bit older than Guentzel, but are you really a better hockey team at the end of the day? I don't know. And same thing with moving Mikhail Sergachev. They bring back Ryan McDonagh. McDonough's a good defenseman. Significantly older than Sergachev, though. So, like, is your blue line really better? I don't know that it is. So, I guess time will tell. I mean, it's just a very interesting... You know, we know the Lightning, just like Vegas and Florida, they're not afraid to be ruthless and, you know, do whatever they got to do for the team. But it's just mind-boggling to understand how they're going about this, or they won't give Stamkos that legacy contract. It appears as though Victor Hedman's getting one. There is belief that Hedman and the Lightning have agreed to the parameters of an extension, and that likely will be announced on July 1st tomorrow. So we'll see. But as of right now, Guentzel staying in Tampa. We just don't know the exact numbers, and Sarah Valley said it may not be announced till tomorrow. It's an agreement tonight, so it can be an 8-year deal. They may not put out all the details till tomorrow. We'll see. I'll update the pinned comment at the top of this video if the details do emerge on the contract. Another player that appears to be staying put is Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane appears to be closing in on a 1-year deal to stay with the Detroit Red Wings. Don't know the terms of that for the AAV, if he's given a no-move clause, any of that stuff. I would imagine he will have a no-move. There was word, though, really since Detroit's season ended, that he wanted terms. I'm really surprised he didn't go for term. I knew he wouldn't get that in Detroit, which I'm not surprised it's a 1-year deal. I'm a little surprised, though, that he didn't go to market thinking he could get that somewhere else. So, obviously, based on everybody's comments, including Yzerman, Kane himself at the end of the season, it just sounded like it wasn't going to happen. We knew the Rangers were very much going to be interested to bring him back should he make it to free agency. That obviously does not seem to be happening. So again, something that's rumored to be happening, hasn't been announced yet as of the recording of this video. We don't know the exact dollar amount, but there's enough reporters that are good sources to say that Patrick Kane returning to Detroit on a 1-year deal. So again, we'll update the pinned comment if any more details emerge from the time I'm done to the time this hits YouTube. So stay tuned. More coming soon. As far as Steven Stamkos goes, I did see a quote, and I'm trying to verify it, so I can't say it's 100% true. But there was some people on Twitter were saying that Darren Dreger had said that Steven Stamkos was intrigued with the idea, if he hits free agency, to look at Toronto. Playing with Mitch Marner was intriguing. I can't verify that. I'm having a hard time tracking that down. He could have said it on a radio hit, maybe. I don't know. I do know that the Leafs were very much in the mix before when Stamkos was pending UFA, but that was a long time ago. Very different situation. I don't know how in the heck the Leafs would squeeze him in. Obviously, if they traded Marner, then they would get a big cap relief. So that I don't know if they'll do that. Obviously, that doesn't appear to be anywhere near imminent for tomorrow. So again, it's hard to say. One team that has been mentioned, though, to be heavily interested in Stamkos is Nashville. They are expected that if he makes it to free agency tomorrow, and all indications are he will right now, that they're very much going to be interested. There's a lot of people that even wonder about the Montreal Canadiens. Can't say with any certainty that they will make an offer or want to speak to him. It's mainly because of the connections, because of Marty St. Louis, of course, St. Louis, and of course Vinny Lecavalier works for the Habs as well. Obviously Stamkos knows St. Louis especially very well. They were, teammates. Was somebody he looked up to, played with for a while. Good relationship there. So just, an intriguing connection, you could say. Obviously, Detroit, Steve Yzerman was the GM in Tampa for a long time. He knows Stammer very well. So again, Detroit, Montreal, there's all connections. Toronto's like a homecoming, connections there. Nashville, there really isn't any other connections outside of the fact that it's a no state tax. And they have interest, and a lot of people really enjoy playing in Nashville. It's one of the NHL markets in the U.S. that a lot of players have no problem going to typically. So, again, lots to be interested on there. We don't know where Stamkos is going. There really haven't been any big rumors on his future, outside of the fact that it doesn't appear to be in Tampa. But again, we all thought that last time, and bam, at the last second, he was a Lightning. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Another one, too, when it comes to free agency, Sam Reinhart's another big name to watch. There was a lot of people that were saying in the last couple of days that, oh, yeah, the Panthers are going to get him done. Be 8 years, that at least $9 million, probably something around no more than what Tkachuk and Barkov make. So Barkov's at 10, Tkachuk's at 9.5. A lot of people thought, he'd be similar to Tkachuk, maybe a smidge less, 9.25, 9.3, like something along those lines. And right now it's, a couple hours. There's only a few hours left in the day as I'm recording this, and they don't have anything announced. So they're running out of time for an 8-year deal. Maybe that's not super important to him. I don't know. Of course, tomorrow, not only does the 8-year deal go away, but he can talk to other teams. I know the Panthers have been busy partying today with their Stanley Cup parade. So I don't know how much of a factor that was in anything. Reinhart himself was not able to go to the parade. He posted a video on social media this morning saying he wouldn't be able to go because he had a prior commitment. One of his best friends was getting married and didn't want to miss the wedding as much as he wanted to be at the parade, that he couldn't do that to his friend. So obviously, good guy Reinhart goes to the wedding. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, there's really been nothing new on Reinhardt's situation today. Just everybody expected to get done, and it's not done, so question marks are arising. So there's that. When it comes to trades, let's look at Nashville. Yaroslav Askarov, of course, the young prospect goalie that was taken in the first round a few years ago. It's 2 solid years in the American Hockey League. He has an interesting social media post after word came out that UC Saros will be signing a big contract extension tomorrow. As soon as he's eligible on July 1st, that's going to block him from having any chance of being a starting goaltender. And not only that, but it's believed the Predators, based on their comments from Barry Trotz and everything, that they're expected to go out and secure another goalie as well for an NHL backup job. So they want Askarov to continue in the minors. It's not even that they see him as being a number 2 in the NHL yet. So that is quite surprising. And he doesn't appear to be happy based on his post that he put up saying that everything happens for a reason. He was on the trade market at the draft last year. It never happened. They had him on the trade market this year at the draft. It didn't happen. The asking price is a solid young player or a very high-ranking up-and-coming prospect. They do not want a goalie in return, though. It has to be a very interesting D or forward prospect that has a high ceiling that they'd really like. So I guess that offer is yet to come. Assuming somebody steps up, they can get themselves a really good young prospect goalie. So we'll see if things emerge there, but he is very much available. We got the Ottawa Senators are making some interesting stuff here. There's word today from Bruce Garriock saying that he's hearing from league sources that, of course, because Shane Pinto is still not signed, that when July 1 opens up, because remember, the other thing that can happen in free agency is offer sheets. Well, he seems to think that there's that Shane Pinto's agent, who is Louis Gross, who is one of the most difficult agents I've ever heard of in my life, looking at a lot of his clients and past negotiations, he has to be one of the most difficult people to deal with. End of story that way. That he is going to be hoping to find an offer sheet. That they're going to be looking for one. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, it's expected that if that ever happened, Ottawa would match. They do not want to lose Shane Pinto. However, it could have a major impact on their cap space. So we'll see. Obviously, they're trying to get him signed. At the draft, it was believed that they had names out there, of course, like Joseph, Bernard Docker, or a couple names that were on the trade market. They still were, believed to have some conversations around Chychrun. It's still unclear what the future holds for him with the Senators. It's believed in free agency. Their main target is right shot defenseman Matt Roy, who, coming from LA, is looking for roughly a 5-year deal. Believed to be in that $5-6 million range. We'll see if they have any chance to land him. I don't know how many other suitors he is going to have. If they do land Roy, they pretty well need to move a contract. So you would think a defenseman like Chychrun would be the most sense, since so many of the other guys are signed long term. I wonder if Steve Stamkos might have something lined up saying, if we get our guy in free agency, here's what, I don't know if that's the case, but it's just interesting in that sense that nothing really happened on the trade front with all of their guys. So we'll have to see what happens here. In Ottawa, it's going to be interesting tomorrow. Marty Necas, of course, very much lots of trade talk around him. Still very much could happen anytime. It's believed, I did see from one source, that the Buffalo Sabres very much were in the mix. We had heard their name as an interested party prior to the draft. They very much were. Their first round pick was in play. And word is that he would not sign a contract extension with the Sabres. So that deal was not happening. So essentially, even though he's a restricted free agent, nobody's going to take him if they're not going to sign. So they're going to the Carolina Hurricanes pretty much have to say, okay, will you sign a contract with this team and let them kind of work something out to make sure, otherwise the other team's not going to go for it. And that was one that he refused. It sounds like there could have been one or two others as well. So I don't know. Obviously, with the Hurricanes losing Guentzel, there's a lot of speculation they may try to keep Necas, but if he doesn't really want to be there and refuses to sign, that could get ugly and complicated real fast as well. So it's a very intriguing scenario to watch, as we don't know. Same thing goes with Jets forward Rucker McGroarty, of course, who basically told the Jets he's not coming to development camp, he's not signing, wants to be traded, and nothing happened at the draft. So again, if that happens, it's very much likely going to have to be a future first round pick, or maybe if there's another prospect that a team comes up with that they really like as well, maybe they swap. We'll see, but another name that wants to be moved and has not been as of yet. When it comes to Jacob Trouba and the Rangers, Elliot Friedman's reporting tonight that it's still very much something that's real. It's being discussed. They're trying to get it done, but he described Trouba as kind of like really shocked and just not sure how to feel. Basically saying he may not be ready to move on. He still technically has a no-move clause for today. Tomorrow on July 1st, it switches to a modified no trade with 15 teams he can block. Obviously, it's believed, the rumor has it, that if they were going to send him to anywhere, that it would be Detroit, that he would accept it and be okay, given he's from Michigan. But like you said before, his wife's a doctor in New York. They did this kind of move together, so to speak, to kind of bring both their careers to New York City. So it's not just him he's got to think about here. But it's believed that he was still kind of shocked by everything, that he's not really sure how to feel, maybe not ready to move on. But because the list will change tomorrow to a modified no trade, the Rangers will have to ask him for his updated list. There's some wondering, will he put Detroit on it, just knowing that that they're trying to trade for him right now? That way he can have more of a say. There is a wonder if you could see Chris Drury do the same thing with Trouba that happened with Barclay Goodrow and put him on waivers, because as of tomorrow, he will not have a no-move clause. So waivers is something that's a possibility, which is what they did with Goodrow. If they want to get him gone long enough and they have a team that will take him, they can do that. So we will see. The only thing is with Detroit, the rumor is that they were going to retain money to knock his contract from $8 million down to about $5.5 million. Well, obviously on waivers, you can't do that. So Detroit would probably not be the team to take him, I would suspect. Unless they had a trade that could come after that Detroit could send a player back to the Rangers that Detroit didn't want or something. It would be really complicated. So unless a team like the Sharks or somebody with lots of space that would do this would take him, it could get ugly. It could get complicated even more so. It's going to be a real interesting scenario to watch. As we talked about, there were some saying it could be a bigger trade. Trouba and Kakko going to Detroit. At some point here in the next few days, maybe he comes to grips with the idea that, hey, these guys don't want me anymore. Maybe I just need to accept it. That sometimes happens, so we'll have to see. It's going to be a very intriguing trade scenario that will play out here over the coming days. We've also got word tonight from TSN's Chris Johnston that Nick Robertson of the Toronto Maple Leafs has informed the team that he will not be re-signing and would like a trade. Obviously, a big part of Robertson's, I think, frustration by the sounds of things is the fact that the last couple of years he would have liked to have more of a regular spot, obviously, and he's been shuffled around a lot because of their salary cap, up and down to the minors, in and out of the lineup. Hard to have a consistent, development plan, consistent approach when you're always being moved around, and most of those decisions were not even always based on his play. Sometimes it were. A lot of times it was more cap driven, and I think he's just ready to move on by the sounds of things. So it's hard to say exactly where he's going to end up. He's still, a younger player that's got a decent amount of experience. I know the Leaf fans have always been hopeful he would emerge as a pretty good goal-scoring winger for them, and I still think he has that potential. So where he ends up, it's hard to say, but it is believed by Chris Johnson that he wants to be traded and is expected to be sometime here over the offseason. Tomorrow afternoon, we get free agency starting. There's all kinds of interesting names out there. Obviously, a few less interesting ones like Kane and Guentzel that appear to be off the market tonight. So stay tuned for that pinned comment down below. I will put contract terms in there should they be released or have been released while I've been talking here for the last little bit. So let me know your thoughts on all of tonight's news and rumors down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. It's going to be a busy day tomorrow for NHL free agency. There'll be tons of content coming your way. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.